All right, good morning, everybody. We can all take our seats. We've got a lot to talk about this morning, to say the least. So thank you all for being here. I know we have a lot of people that are going to be watching from home today as we get into our second agenda item, the substantial damage assessment. Before we get going, a couple of things I wanted to recognize. First of all, I want to thank Deputy Winnick and Deputy Butterfield for being here and keeping us safe as they always do. And I also want to recognize Commissioner Long, as this is her last work session before her retirement, not to make you cry. And she may need to leave to go back to canvassing board, but I just wanted to thank her for all her years of service and her leadership. And
already had floods with Helene and Milton, baby, don't we?
That's right. And we all look forward to spending some time with you later this evening. And then also, I'd like to just say a few words as well before we get going here this morning. You know, as we convene today, we all feel the weight of the recent hurricane impact on our community, and we stand in solidarity with those that have been affected. Our priority is to address the immediate needs of residents facing unimaginable hardships. To those who have lost homes and businesses, we want you to know that you are not alone. We are committed to providing support and resources during this extremely difficult time. Our county staff has been working tirelessly to offer shelters, medical assistance, and essential services. While addressing urgent needs, we must also focus on the long-term challenges of rebuilding, which will be substantial. This will require not only physical resources, but emotional resilience and a lot of patience. It will be a monumental task, a challenge greater than any that Pinellas County has ever faced before. But with the strength of our residents, we will rebuild stronger than ever. As we embark on this recovery journey, it is crucial, as we're going to hear here in a very short period of time, that we comply with FEMA guidelines to secure necessary federal resources, the recovery of our real estate market, and to ensure the availability of lenders and insurers long into the future. Therefore, we must ensure our rebuilding efforts are sustainable, transparent, and accountable. So let us move forward with unity and purpose. By addressing the immediate needs and planning for the long-term recovery, we will overcome the challenges posed by these hurricanes and honor the resilience of our community. So with that, Barry, shall we move on?
Good morning, Commissioners. The first item, obviously, there's a lot of attention on the second item, and we're going to get to that. But, you know, it's been a while since we had an update on our small business program, and, you know, that's also key to our recovery, considering most of our businesses are small business. And so we have Corey in. He's going to give you an update of all the efforts that we've been working on. And this is just, again, this was scheduled, but, you know, to just tell you where we're at, what we're doing, and kind of a summary of the program moving forward. So with that, go ahead, Corey.
Awesome. Good morning. How's everyone? My name's, of course, Corey McCaster, Director of the Office of Small Business Supply Diversity. I'd like to take a moment to share with you just a brief update on the performance of the program. But before I dive into the actual data, I would like to highlight that the program has not only continued to grow in service to our local small businesses and the local small business community, it has also become a resource for our internal stakeholders and community partners. Through the SB, excuse me, let me make sure this is working. Let's see, to be working. There we go. Through the SBE program, we've leveraged resources and partnerships to provide essential information on compliance requirements associated with federal guidance or federal grants and contracts. For example, in collaboration with the Department of Labor, we've scheduled Davis-Bacon Act seminars for prime contractors working on county or federally funded county contracts. And it's a significant thing for us because we see that that wage regulations that are a part of these particular contracts can be sticky, and we want to make sure that the prime contractors working with the county understand those regulations. So we brought that to the county as a part of the program. Additionally, we've worked with PI, Pinellas International Airport, in identifying contractors that meet the new Department of Transportation requirements. As you probably all know, that there are new regulations that came through the Department of Transportation, and we're working with PI to make sure that they are finding the right contractors to work on those particular projects. And so that's some of the things that we're doing in addition to the work that we do every day with small businesses in the community. The other thing that we're doing, and it's on top of the radar for all of us, is to make sure that our small businesses have access to some of the great opportunities that are happening in the Bay Area. The new Rays Stadium that's going on, the Moffitt Cancer Center that's happening in Pasco, the University of South Florida Stadium that's being constructed, as well as both of the new terminals in PI and TIA. You may ask, well, how does that tie into our program? By facilitating SBAs or SBE access to these opportunities, we will help our small business maintain financial stability and encourage their continued ability to participate in Pinellas County's initiatives for years to come. And so we want to make sure that if they're not working on our projects, that they stay in the Bay Area, that they have access to other projects that's going to give them the revenue. When we need them, they answer the bell. And so that's what we're focusing on, is making sure they have access and no downtime between projects. As the SBE program continues to demonstrate its value to internal stakeholders, it's shown significant growth in both awards and payments to SBEs over the past 3 years. And as you can see, the data continues to increase. We're at 55 million right now, 55.6 million in terms of awards this year, and that's a tremendous amount of growth over time. The total value of awards increased 45% from year 23 to 24, and by 96% since fiscal year 22, reflecting the program's success in sharing more opportunities with small local businesses. Payments to SBEs grew 17% from fiscal year 23 to 24, and by a whopping 116% since fiscal year 22. Showing that more contracts are being awarded and paid out to SBEs, supporting their financial health and stability. On this slide are key performance indicators for the program. Along with payments, we monitor SBE registrations and the relationship between our SBE goal percentage and actual utilization. SBE registrations are critical. It conveys how visible our bid opportunities are to the small business community. Last year, our registrations increased by 10%, and that's significant for us because we want to make sure that whatever we're putting out there, that small businesses are looking at it and they're having the opportunity to bid on it. If a young lady with a construction or cleaning company at night is, after completing her work, is wanting to see the opportunities that we have, we want to make those as easy for her to access as possible so that she can get an opportunity to bid on those opportunities that we have with the county. And so we've been doing that and been removing any kind of roadblocks that may prohibit that. The actual utilization rate you can see there is at 29%. That far exceeds the average SBA goal or SBE goal of 13%. This highlights the program's success in including small businesses, which positively impact the local economy by promoting job creation and promoting pathways for women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses.
Corey?
Yes. So we're looking at the number of small businesses that we're utilizing in the program. And so we want to have, a strong percentage would be about 15 to 20%, but we're at 29. So 29% of the opportunities that are out there, we're making sure, of the opportunities that are out there, we're making sure that 29% of individuals are working on those particular contracts.
Only 10% that are registered, but
Oh,
we're
well, no,
actually,
that's a 10% increase in registration.
oh, increase. in
Increase.
register- oh,
So
thank
it's
you.
an arrow
Thank
up.
you.
It's an increase in registration.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right,
And so
thank
that's
you.
what we're happy about that. We
Yeah.
want more and more businesses to see our opportunities and to register.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Let's see here. The growth of the SBE program would not have been possible without the help of many partners and stakeholders across Pinellas County. I would like to acknowledge the 5 departments that made the largest contributions to the county SBE spend in fiscal year '24, listed by percentage of their budget spent with local small businesses. And as you can see on the screen there, Public Works, tops the actual charts. But I want to personally thank all of them for their commitment to supporting small businesses. Given the recent impact of Hurricane Helene, Milton, this support will be even more critical as more local small businesses work to recover. And I'm sure they're going to be seeing opportunities with the county and hopefully bidding on the opportunities as they make their pivot back to solvency and strength. On the screen now is our work plan for the upcoming year. The major part of our work plan is going to be that we want to continue to remove barriers for small businesses so that they do more work with the county in providing goods and services that the county needs and wants. And the other thing that we have is that we want to make sure, our second goal is to make sure that local businesses that our departments understand that local small businesses are ready and capable of delivering what's needed for the county to perform as expected. And so we'll continue to push out into the departments and provide information about what is available in terms of the small businesses that we have in our database, and continue to provide them with ways that they could, engage with small businesses that won't harm what they do on a day-to-day basis. It could be just as simple as, taking a contract and making sure that a piece of that particular contract is an opportunity for small businesses. So debundling contracts is one way to do that. And so we're looking to talk with departments to look for opportunities for those departments to provide small businesses with a chance to do business with the county. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, thank you for the update. Just in terms of the biggest hurdles, if you will, whether it's awareness or education or assistance for the small businesses, what are you seeing or hearing are those hurdles out there, the ones that we could really maybe bolster a little bit more to help these folks understand the opportunity and engage?
Yeah, I mean, I think the major thing is to just, the small businesses want to make sure when they do engage with the county that the processes are quick and that we don't have unnecessary burdens that might be there. I mean, and for example, we want to make sure that insurance is tied directly to or proportionate to the size of the contract. If you get a $75,000 contract, we don't want you to carry $1 million in liability insurance. And so the team and I have been working on that very issue just to make sure that if there's a contract of a particular size, we want to make sure that those requirements for insurance is proportionate. So just to answer your question more, it's just to remove those any burdens or barriers that we see internally that can help small businesses move through our process. If it's getting paid faster, all of those things, because when they see us as a great opportunity. But we want to make sure once they engage that opportunity continues to be a good one.
Yeah, I would imagine that they, getting engaged with public, the government side versus, on the business side,
Sure.
Creates challenges, maybe a few more requirements, and perhaps perception-wise, and maybe reality, it's a little burdensome to them. Mm-hmm. And
I mean, as a former small business owner myself, I mean, I do understand, and I did understand at the time that trying to engage with government is one that is a different way of doing business. It's a different way to promote and market yourself, and you have to learn those particular skills. And that our Small Business Development Center that provides the wraparound services can help small businesses understand how to engage with government. And that's what we do on a day-to-day basis as well, is to get them the.
If I were a small business owner, I'd be concerned about getting too, like, in, and then, like, how's the rest of my business going to survive, you know,
Yeah.
the demands of that contract, if you will, so.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and it's always about cash flow. I mean, for a small business owner, it's the lifeline and lifeblood of any business, but particularly for small business owners. And we want to make sure that they have the resources they need, access to capital in order to continue on, because those are key things. They're key factors for small business owners, is to have access to capital as they start to do business, and contracts are paid at 45, 50 days. They got to be able to deal with that.
And the numbers you were comparing it to are industry standard numbers, that we're doing okay?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Commissioner Justice. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning.
Good morning.
I thought the spread across the different departments, that was, I wasn't expecting to really see that even spread across all those departments, so that was encouraging to see. And then you mentioned the airport and those very specific federal regulations that they have to be trained on to make sure that they're following the federal guidelines for all those grants.
Correct.
Are there other hurdles out there that are as identifiable as that federal with the airport, the aviation authority?
I mean, for us, you know, when you look at the federal side of things, I mean, those requirements are not something that we deal with in-house. I mean, we have tools and we have partners, and we connect with them, and we share information with the international airport to try to help them and guide them through the process. But it's not something that we handle on a day-to-day basis, if you will, because our focus is on the SBE program and what we do daily. But I can't, you know, right off the top of my head, see anything that, you know, from the SBE standpoint that would be a hurdle like that.
To your question, Commissioner, how many trainings did you do with small businesses last year?
And that's about 94.
So, right. They're doing a lot of stuff that you don't see, and that helps them understand what it takes to be able to contract. They're eliminating barriers, but they're also helping people understand what it takes to do business in a government environment, both at a local level and at a federal level. Well, that was really the reason this whole thing started years ago, was to communicate to our business owners that it wasn't this, you know, there was a process, but it wasn't impossible, and people just needed to learn how to access it. I was just curious, I know we have our procurement open house coming up in a couple of weeks, and how well do the folks that show up for that, how well do we get them into the SBE?
I mean, in terms of a particular number that I don't have in terms of a percentage, but I would say that most people who engage with us that come out to events, like we had an event over in Dunedin called Hard Hats and Taps. It's a great opportunity for business owners to come in and learn about the county SBE program, but also to meet with some of prime contractors. And I would say of the people that were in the room, let's say it was 50, I'm going to say at least we had 20 to 25 people show interest after our outreach event to want to register and be a part of what we do.
Right. I think this is one of the great successes of keeping our money with our local employers, so it's a great thing. Appreciate your time today.
No problem. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so now we'll move on to item number 2, substantial damage assessment.
So Commissioners, we'll give a kind of a storm update on Tuesday under the County Administrator's report. We wanted this workshop to be really focused around what we've heard so much about, which is the substantial damage process and the FEMA's 50% rule and what all that means. We're just beginning this process, obviously, and so there'll be a lot more discussion about that. We're having a meeting this afternoon internally with staff regarding all of this, but we wanted to introduce a topic. I saw Madeira Beach had a meeting last night on it, and everybody's going through that. Obvious for us, it's for the unincorporated areas. Each community has their own ordinance. We have our own ordinance, and so there may be slight variations with that, but it's significant, and the impacts are real, and so we're gonna kind of go through an outline of that. It's going to be kind of high level. We'll answer any questions we have, but this is the first discussion of what I assume will be many regarding this process. We want to be resident focused. We want to help our community recover. we also have to be cognizant of the requirements and the alternatives if we vary from that. So with that, I'll ask Tanya, and I don't know if Shirley is also coming up. So if you guys would come up. They're with Haggerty Consulting. So we employed Haggerty Consulting as part of early on in this process because they have the experience with not just us, but Lee County and every hurricane that's been out there. And they understand these federal issues and these federal requirements. So they've been on our team helping us navigate some pretty complex issues, everything from debris to, to this, to everything else. They've been in our AOC since the very beginning. So they've been a tremendous asset to us. We asked them to do this white paper that we sent out to you to try to give us that independent view. They're a consultant. They're helping us. They're giving us their ideas, their thoughts, but we also asked them to map out best practices and impacts other communities have faced as they made these choices. So we have kind of go in with our eyes wide open. So with that, I'll turn it over to them and let them go through their presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, let me get a little closer. We have very different height situations going on. My name is Tanya Shannon. I'm one of the deputy directors within Haggerty Consulting for Recovery. I predominantly focus on the South, Florida being home for me, and helping communities go through their worst day. Working through Hurricane Michael was when I joined Haggerty, leaving FEMA, and that being one of the most catastrophic disasters I've ever seen. Then several years later, Shirley ran towards the hurricane with me, where we supported Lee County, Cape Coral, and a number of the municipalities there through their worst day with Hurricane Ian. So that has largely been our focus for the last 2 years, and unfortunately, we're not the folks that people like to meet. However, we've been having the honor to be able to support your amazing staff since the day after Helene through Milton, and with each and every day throwing a new challenge that your staff has amazingly rose to the occasion on. Just a little bit on Haggerty. It is we're based out of Evanston, Illinois, where Steve Haggerty was the mayor for a while. And we provide support to states and local governments and sometimes the federal government before, during, and after disasters. That's our entire focus and what we do. With that, with the presentation that we're doing today, is looking at what FEMA is looking to require under the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program. So we'll be speaking on an overview of what FEMA is looking for. The NFIP program is a voluntary program, so we're going to be focusing on that element within this presentation. We're going to be discussing what are the potential consequences of not meeting the minimum floodplain management requirements that FEMA outlines, and some examples of what the jurisdictions did after Hurricane Michael and after Hurricane Ian, and lesson learned on that front. And then additionally, we're going to be talking about some of the ongoing conversations and different resources that are going to be potentially available to your constituents that are going to be impacted through this SDA process, and in general, the already very difficult process to navigate with regards to housing on a blue skies day. It's only going to be further exacerbated after a disaster. But with disasters are a significant amount of funding that becomes available, and if strategically utilized, can make significant impacts to your community and building back better and more resilient. So a lot of the information that we'll be providing today is straight out of the FEMA desk reference for substantial improvement, substantial damages. And if any questions at any time, please let us know.
Thank you, Tanya. As Tanya mentioned, I'm Shirley Valentin. I'm a manager for Haggerty Consulting. And now we are going to be talking about how FEMA and NFIP defines substantial damage assessments. The substantial damage assessment process is the process to determine whether a structure has been significantly damaged by flood or any other types of disasters. And the way that FEMA defines this is that the basic rule is what they will evaluate through the substantial damage assessment process is the if the cost of repairing that structure that was damaged exceeds or equals 50% of the building's market value prior to the disaster. Another component to that is that FEMA's expectation and NFIP expectation is that local governments enforce their floodplain ordinances and use this process as their mechanism to verify that that is happening. Next slide. With that, that is the purpose of the SDA, substantial damage assessment process. And it is highly recommended that when conducting these substantial damage assessments, to engage the community, to enhance coordination, so it's, and enhance also recovery efforts. Key steps that of this substantial damage assessment process, as outlined in the presentation, initially, the local government will notify the community that the substantial damage assessment process is going to begin. After that, the local jurisdiction might approach it in two different ways. Or there are two different ways to start the process. One would be by the local jurisdiction conducting inspections proactively, which is a FEMA expectation. The other one will be coming from the homeowner requesting an appointment for an inspection. After that step, the next thing will be to conduct the actual inspection, the property inspection, which is done by having an inspector going house to house and collecting data and documenting with photos the damages. That data is taken then to the local jurisdiction and is evaluated to make the comparison between the cost of repair versus the building's market value. If determined by the local jurisdiction that property is substantially damaged, then it's the responsibility of their local jurisdiction to inform the resident that their property is substantially damaged. And this might be in the format of a letter outlining the compliance requirements and the process to get that structure into compliance. Then it's the responsibility of the homeowner to review and assess and understand, with the help of the jurisdiction, these requirements. And also, as part of that exercise, the homeowner will need to assess what are the funding opportunities that are out there, including assistance programs that might be available with the help of the jurisdiction to proceed with the steps to make their structure compliance. Yes.
So just a couple real quick ones as you were talking. I was just thinking about them. Do the cost to repair include all of the cleanup costs and all of the work that's done to get it back to a base level from which to build? Does it include all of those costs too, as far as exceeding 50% of the value of the property?
It depends on the local ordinance. With how FEMA does, they set these higher level rules and then expect the local governments to establish their own ordinances. So whatever cost that you require within your permitting process, so usually cleanup is not part of that. I know that cutting out drywall and things along those lines, that piece would be part of that calculation usually. But then the details come down into your local ordinance of what is included in the repair.
So that inspector goes out on a day, takes pictures, understands the, I guess, that minimum level of improvements that are going to be required, doesn't make the assessment on the spot, or does
No.
they go back? How much time is usually involved in that assessment process, generally? I mean, it depends on the number of people you have, I guess.
Exactly.
Correct.
So for example, to kind of elaborate on this step here for number 2, on why it would be the proactive versus the
Which is what we started.
I'll get back to the mic. is that, so I'll use Panama City, for example. Catastrophic hurricane, it took them 2 weeks to cut themselves out of their homes. I was in Tallahassee, and we were trying to get in. I was FEMA at the time. They do not have, their annual budget is $108 million. So they didn't have the necessary resources. They asked FEMA for resources. At that time, FEMA would provide inspectors. So there was a lag, and FEMA would provide the inspection and data. And then poor Jennifer, a team of one, and she was able to recruit some folks, were then processing that data to make the evaluation. So there was quite a bit of a lag where I've reached out to her early on in this process just to get some best practices and some her opinion. She had a number of folks that were also asking for the substantial damage assessment and would request appointments, and that's where they prioritize their initial teams until the additional FEMA resources came in. What is happening here in Pinellas County is the state is offering quite a bit of resources, largely based off of the lessons learned from Hurricane Michael and Ian, where those resources were not able to be provided. But again, the state is providing a small army of inspectors, but then will need to be that data processed by the county.
And those costs, again, that includes not only the rebuilding of the interior improvements, but also FF&E estimates as well? Or does the FF&E not included in that? Furniture, fixture, equipment?
I would need to look at your guys' specific ordinance and defer to the county on the particulars in your.
Obviously, that's significant, so that would be interesting.
I have to look at that. I don't know the answer to it, but what I do know, and I want them to confirm that I'm correct on this because I'm learning something each day. But you have to look at the commercial rate of the improvement. So if you are handy and you can pull a building permit and do certain work, it doesn't matter. You've got to include what it would have cost had it been commercially obtained. So there's specific, it's not just we go out and we come up with an estimate and we put that in, because FEMA will audit this. It will audit every single thing you do, and so that's how you have to do your determination of value of the improvements. And
the value is based on before the storm.
Correct.
The costs, are they based on what the normal cost of doing business would be, or that inflated cost based on supply and demand of contractors that might be available?
So the cost estimate that is generated during the initial damage assessment, it usually frequently utilizes like RS Means or some other cost estimating tool that does have escalation factors to reflect an estimated cost of the dollar of repairs post-disasters. We had a lot of issues after Michael that the dollar figures were not fully representative of what it actually costs to build back. So through that appeals process, if the individual homeowner is saying, no, I don't think I'm substantially damaged, or yes, I do think I'm substantially damaged, and I want access to these different programs that are available so that I can elevate and make my home more resilient, they can appeal and say, here is a general contractor and an estimate of what the repair is based off of current dollar values, signed and sealed by an engineer, and meeting all the other requirements per your local ordinance to determine.
That's the appeal process. You bring that to the government, the local government, and they say, we agree. Mm-hmm. So it's not substantially damaged because it fell below that 50% level.
Correct.
And you can go ahead and do your thing. Okay.
Yes, but then again, just highlighting that it will depend on what the ordinance says in terms of how you appeal, because you can, the jurisdiction can have other thresholds that the homeowner can hit.
The other key is it's the ordinance that was in place at the time of the disaster.
Correct.
And that's how FEMA looks at that.
Yes, FEMA will frown upon any changes that occur after the disaster to the ordinances.
Thank you. Good morning to both of you, and thank you so much for being here. So I'm not sure if these questions are ones you can answer or Barry, or if maybe a response is coming forth, but there's a difference between if you have flood damage if you're not residing in a flood zone, and if you are in a non-evacuation zone, but as a result of the storm, tree fell on your house, took out your roof, so for 3-4 hours, you were being battered by the rain and whatnot. So those are two different instances. So here you're talking about flood, but that's not a flood event for those individuals. So would this process still apply for persons who weren't flooded, but as a result of whatever damage, then they sustained substantial rain damage, water damage, wind damage, et cetera?
Yeah, even fire damage might be
Yes.
included there, as long as it's within the regulated floodplain. So FEMA's minimum requirement would be the special flood hazard zone, which is defined by FEMA. But if your ordinance expands that flood zone a little bit, FEMA will call that the regulated floodplain.
So here's a photo, or an image of, so substantial damage assessment process is specific to the areas that are in that designated flood zone, regardless of what the actual damage was caused by. So it is a home or some kind of property that is in the area that's either red or yellow on this map. I know it's tiny, but that kind of gives you an idea of the area that we're talking about. And regardless of what broke it, the folks that were in, where my grandmother lives in Paradise, California, that was subject to all those fires back in 2018 and 17. They went through this process for substantial damage assessment process for the homes that were in the flood zone for fire damage. It is a requirement for if it is in the flood zone.
My next question is, so if a person utilized in step 2 their own assessor rather than the county, because I think that's what it says in the little square, let's say the county does a substantial damage assessment, and let's say that person determines it doesn't meet the threshold. And the homeowner then requests another damage assessment, let's say outside person, and that person says it does. Who takes precedent in that?
So that would be an example, yeah, of the ordinance and the appeal process. And Harry?
Those are some of the things that we're looking at. So obviously, there's FEMA guidelines regarding how we apply our ordinance and how we determine. If you appeal your taxes, you can't just go out and get somebody and they say, no, your home's worth this, and automatically they reduce your taxes. There's state guidelines that specify how that is determined. We have guidelines within our ordinance. And so that's one of the questions is how do we review those appeals and how that decision is made on whether it is sufficiently documented and a determination made on whether or not they're right or not. That's one of the internal discussions we're having.
Okay. And then, we do have some homeowners here, some seniors, and persons who may not have the financial capabilities of meeting the, I'm sorry, y'all, I got sleep deprivation,
Additional
of
burden.
paying their,
Compliance?
Cost to elevate?
no, when you have your insurance, deductible, thank you, Jesus, oh, Lord. Paying the deductible amount, because this is happening right now, I got a couple of calls. So they're seniors, this was a police officer who gave me this about her aunt. Doesn't have the wherewithal to meet the deductible amount. It's substantial damage, whole roof gone. You can look into the house from the, just go upstairs and look to the top of the house. So for those individuals, would any of those resources where you have in one of our squares looking for potential resources or whatever, are there any resources that may be available to assist those individuals?
Yeah. So, we're going to dive into that piece
Yes.
in a couple slides of
Oh,
what
okay, I'm ahead of
what
myself.
those programs, no, and that's,
Yes.
it's a great that you're asking that question, because ultimately, it is that individual that is impacted and how to help them get back to being more resilient for the next disaster, long from now, but helping them get back to their new normal. So we'll have that piece in just a little bit.
And then I think this will be my last one, and I'm so sorry for
you're
it,
good.
but it's just
Over here.
a lot. Ideally, how long should this process take place? And I'm only asking because there are a few homes, not many, within the community where they had roof damage from previously. Blue roofs came in, gave them their blue roof. They just got full approval to get a new roof at the beginning of this year. And then some of them had damage as a result of the storm, some did not. So ideally, and that was in, so that was a long time.
Yeah.
So ideally, how long does this, and the reason I'm asking is because these people got to go somewhere in between time. They can't stay at the shelter forever. You know, prices here are crazy. FEMA pays for up to 90 days for rental assistance. So ideally, how long is this, if everything goes?
Well, I think you're going to get into the housing piece in a minute. And to answer your question, there are certain programs that FEMA's turned on. There's other or long-term housing things we're waiting for them to potentially turn on. And then there's a whole nother thing where we're going to get into, which is grants, Elevate programs, and stuff like that, you know, is going to take years. And so that's the complexity of this, you know. You want to talk about something that, you know, makes your head hurt. I mean, there's a lot to this. Kevin Guthrie, you know, I think he's over speaking to Hillsborough County Commissioners today, and, you know, he's got an idea on an Elevate program to how to eliminate the state and local jurisdiction, make it between the homeowner and speed the process up by, you know, a lot. But as he said, we've never done it before. So can he do that? You know, so they're looking at ways of making this help homeowners quicker, but it's a work in progress. And it's not just one program. There's many different types of programs. Some you can access through the state. Some have to require congressional action for appropriations, which means a bill has to pass Congress, and you know, and so it's really complex. They're going to touch on it, but there's going to be a lot more that we're going to have to figure out and have future discussions on that we just don't have answers for today.
And then my last one, this is really my last one. Barry, do we have enough assessors to go out and do these inspections?
Yeah, so we
Because it says
requested-
county.
Yeah, well, again, this is, so the county's responsibility for unincorporated. I'll say it like
That-
4
yeah, that's-
times, you know, because people, you know, every time there's a hiccup, then somebody says, well, the county should have, and it's like, okay, well, wait, look at your own plan, okay? And so let's not rewrite the plan in the middle, you know, let's go back to the original intent. You know, a little sensitive to that, but, you know.
Yeah, but I'm talking about for us, yeah.
You know, well, everybody's got responsibility, including us, and we want to do everything we can to support it. So we requested, I think, 100 inspectors. We got 80, 75, okay? And we divided those up with the cities. And so it's, you know, we got them as a resource. So the cities requested assistance from us. We put in a mission to the state delivered, and we've now divided those up and provided those out for both unincorporated area and to the cities to assist them in doing this damage assessment. We took the proactive approach of getting this process going quicker than waiting for people to get a building permit. And they're going to go through some of this. You saw there's 2 ways in which you can determine it. But we learned early on that you wait till a building permit, well then a lot of people go out and they do their work, and then all of a sudden you've got a substantial damage determination, and now you go, well, you shouldn't have done that work, unpermitted or not, and now they have to tear it out, and then they're not only mad because of what they have to do, they're mad that they spent money. And so We tried to get this process going quick, and so we're out doing that now. It's going to take time, just like debris, but we've put a lot of resources into trying to move this process up quicker.
I've seen some signs on some houses that say inspected. Does that mean that they've had this substantial inspection done? Is that what the inspected sign means on a house out there?
I don't know.
Okay.
Any other questions? I have a question. So in Pinellas County, unincorporated Pinellas County, we're actually at 49%, correct? We're not
We are.
actually at 50%.
Our
Okay.
ordinance is at 49%.
Okay. So there's a look-back period. I believe it's a year. Let's say your FEMA letter says that you have $100,000 worth of bandwidth and improvements that you can do, but you did a kitchen and it cost $20,000 6 months ago. So now that brings that down to $80,000. When does that look-back period expire? Is that calendar year? Is that from the date that you actually perform the work? Is that local ordinance? Is
It's
that FEMA?
based upon our local ordinance, and that's a great question. I'll have to look at that. I don't know the answer to that. But ours, you're 100% correct. Ours is a year look back, and I don't know how that applies.
Because if it's calendar year, if people are trying to get some work done
Right,
before 12/31 of this year, and then that resets again
correct.
in 2025, well, then that, people should know that, because
Right.
could give people some wiggle room.
Yes. It's a great question. I'm sure staff's taking notes on that for our discussion this afternoon.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay.
Would you like me to answer that question?
Sure.
Not if you say different than what I said, but go ahead. No, I'm kidding.
Good morning, Kevin McAndrew, Director of BDRS. The 12-month
Lift
cumulative,
your microphone, Kevin.
I-
Kevin? Yeah.
the 12-month period is not tied to the calendar year. It starts from when the last permit was finalized. So when a permit is finalized, then the 12-month period starts.
So when the permit's closed?
Yes.
Okay.
With regard to the inspection placard, Barry had referenced that we had significant deployment of state contractor, as well as building department, as well as property appraiser, environmental management. There was a little bit of inconsistency in some of those inspectors initially posting the inspection placard. And when it was posted, it did mean, in fact, that the substantial damage inspection was performed. But we've chosen not to do that because it was causing more confusion than not. So the only placard that is being used now is effectively if an inspector sees that a home is destroyed, and it will be placarded with an unsafe placard, which includes do not enter or occupy this residence.
So the ones that are out there now they'll be coming down, the ones that say inspected.
It doesn't change, it's that they weren't incorrectly placarded, but again, we wanted to make sure there was consistency.
And the inspection does not necessarily mean that the determination's been made. That's just that the inspection's been
The
done.
inspection is the first step of the process.
And do you know if the FF&E is included in that cost of repair? The furniture, fixture, and equipment, or?
So FEMA has very specific criteria on what is to be included and not included. And our ordinance defers to FEMA's list of what is included. Everything from demolition to contractor overhead and profit, materials and labor for all improvements, built-in appliances. By way of example, loose furniture, loose appliances, that's not part of that calculation. But the best source is the FEMA guidebook, is what we rely on for both substantial improvement and substantial damage determinations.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. All right, continue, please.
And then, just to finalize with this slide, then after the homeowner assess what options are available to them, the next step is to actually begin, hire a contractor, submit the required permits, and begin repairs, and hopefully get into compliance. And as a last step, we included here to stay informed. There's the component of public outreach, and then have and engage with the community so they are aware of what options are available. We are going to be talking about examples of programs that might be available and grants that will be available. Not everything is immediately available. Every program might have a different timeline, so that's why it's a continuous effort. Next slide. Does the federal government require substantial damage assessment? Yes. As part of participating in the NFIP, SDAs are a requirement. What was the intent of Congress behind this? It was to reduce flood damage and decrease the risk of future damage by lowering, by ensuring that buildings within the flood zone are in compliance, and by helping or providing a method to verify that they're indeed in compliance and take the necessary steps if they're not. Another component of that or consideration is to the intent of Congress when enacting NFIP was to alleviate the taxpayer burden of the taxpayers that subsidize the NFIP program, and also, least but not less important, to make accessible, affordable insurance for property owners. How do the substantial damage assessment relate to the NFIP? As mentioned, substantial damage assessment are required for participation in the NFIP. This is the mechanism to verify that buildings are in compliance with the floodplain ordinances. What are the risks? And as mentioned before, is the responsibility of the local government, local jurisdiction to enforce their ordinances. What are the potential consequences of non-compliance? As we have seen with Lee County, jurisdictions may face probation or suspension from the NFIP program. NFIP requires that for federally regulated mortgages to have NFIP insurance or private insurance that will be to the same extent or comply with the same requirements that of NFIP. And that if losing NFIP coverage, homeowners might face foreclosure. And also loss of eligibility for federal funding. And we included here as an example, Hazard Mitigation Grant Program and the Flood Mitigation Assistance Program. The Flood Mitigation Assistance Program requires compliance with NFIP, and Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, which is a FEMA-funded program, will not spend any money on properties that are within the flood zone that are not, if you are not in compliance with NFIP. So these might be programs that might not be available to homeowners if the local jurisdiction doesn't have NFIP. And then at the bottom, we highlighted that timely completion of substantial damage assessments is essential to prevent unnecessary repairs on permitted work and ultimately support the community resilience. I work very closely with the city of Cape Coral. Michael Ilchizin did a presentation a couple of days ago. And as part of this timely completion of SDAs, the city is currently responding to FEMA's audit after 2 years from Hurricane Ian. And they are, as a component of that, they're changing the way they do things, but they're also putting a lot of emphasis in community outreach. and implementing a communications plan, because that was part of how they are trying to mitigate their code enforcement issues that happened with Ian, and how a lot of unpermitted work happened because there was not a lot of communication or engagement at that time, not to the expectation of FEMA. FEMA is expecting communities to do as much as possible, so, and I will quote FEMA, the ball is on the court of the resident and not on the court of their jurisdiction.
So I just want to comment on that because that's one of the things, I sent out the link to that webinar that was held by the city manager. And so for instance, they go in, they know what a base flood elevation is for the properties, and they know where the storm came. And so they look at a community of 500 homes and say that there were only 400, and they did an audit, property by property, FEMA did. And they said, well, there's only 400 permits pulled. Where are the other 100? It's your job to enforce your ordinance against the 100 that did unpermitted work. I mean, so I just use that as an example that, you know, you can't just look the other way. They will catch that in an audit, and that's the communication we're talking about of getting out and explaining, you know, to people this process. It's very big brother, but it's real, and that's something we have to be cognizant of.
Commissioner Lavelle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I may be wrong with my timeline on this, but I served in the legislature during Michael. And I had some friends that served in Bay County and some of the surrounding counties. And my recollection, and I may be wrong about this, is that they were telling me that the governor and the president at the time were able, well, really the president was able to intervene with FEMA, and FEMA waived some requirements with Bay County. Was that accurate, or am I wrong about that?
I spoke with the floodplain manager of Panama City. Panama City is a client of ours as well as Bay County, and that's actually where I live, is in Panama City. Per the floodplain manager for Panama City, that they enforced the substantial damage assessment process. They asked for additional resources from FEMA. FEMA deployed those resources. This is the last time FEMA did this. Now they're providing funding for local governments to hire or state governments to hire staff or contractors to do the substantial damage assessments. But for Hurricane Michael, FEMA sent the inspectors in to be managed by the city and by the county. They did the substantial damage assessment process. They issued the letters, and then they enforced the code. They were understanding, and what we'll talk about a little bit, is actually Panama City and Bay County partnered together to advocate to the Governor Scott at the time. No, this was post-election, so Governor DeSantis, and the legislature to allocate, to do a special allocation for housing, to create programs and create a special dollar allocation to Bay County and Panama City so that they could support their citizens and with repairs, elevations, rental assistance while they're outside of what FEMA's providing. To do home elevations, down payment assistance, and a number of other things that, and case management support for the homeowners that were.
So a lot of that came from the state?
The dollars that the Panama City and Bay County managed were almost entirely from the state. Panama City took it a step further and received funding under the Community Development Block Grants to do voluntary home buyouts, which we bought our 42nd home and are in the process of demolishing those homes, relocating the individuals, then demolishing the homes, and then creating a park. Yes, in that order. And creating a park that will intentionally flood to be used on blue sky days as a park, but then be a mitigation project for their stormwater issues. So it is part of exactly like Barry was saying, it is a complex issue and touches so many different pieces, and especially to this last point of timely completions of SDAs. Panama City, Jennifer, very adamant of this is something we need to do, and we need to move as quickly as possible before folks start repairing their homes. They already have gone through so much, and while it is an extra burden and can come and will most likely come as a shock when they receive that letter. But doing it early, before they start spending money on things that they'll have to spend all over again, is very critical for the recovery. What happens frequently is coming out of completely good intentions for wanting not to add another burden onto their already very burdened population, of potentially delaying the SDA process. FEMA comes and FEMA audits. It happened 2 years later for Lee County and the jurisdictions there. It happened 4 years later for the folks in East Baton Rouge Parish in Louisiana after the massive floodings that happened in 2016. Imagine how much they got done in those 4 years that had to be completely redone once the letters came out. When FEMA did the audit and said, these letters need to go out, that these homes were substantially damaged, this minimum requirement wasn't met. So kind of thinking of that in terms of resources necessary to implement this, but then also what is that handoff of assistance to the locals so that they can repair? Yes, sir.
So everything you've been saying, like whatever the ordinance was in effect at the time of the storm, and I think recently FEMA floodplains were adjusted here so that on the inside, on the bay side, they were raised up, and on the the Gulf side, they were lowered. So it was kind of like this. And I think Pinellas County decided not to lower it on this side, but to keep it a little elevated. That's the ordinance that was in place. So when I guess the issue is when we come back to rebuild and raise up, they'll have to be raised up to that standard that we've created for
Correct.
ourselves, or?
It's the ordinance that was in place at the time, the
Okay.
vulnerability assessment.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Yes,
Yeah,
then
okay.
it would be the ordinance.
Even
in
though
place at
FEMA's
the
would have
time.
been lower, we wouldn't have had to raise it as high. We kept it higher, so we'll have to raise it up to what we
No,
have in
it'll
our.
Yeah, it'll have to be to the base flood elevation plus
And
one.
I'm
of
not
that.
saying it's
No,
right or
under-
wrong,
No,
I'm
I
just
understand.
asking
But
the
yes,
question.
you're 100% correct, Commissioner. And the communities that adopted that standard along the, throughout the, the barrier islands, they have that standard in place also. So it's up to each jurisdiction whether they adopted that or not, so you'll see some differences between communities.
And my understanding and the basis for that was that the data that we were looking at to keep it higher was more recent than the data that FEMA was
It was
looking at.
mapped, yes, it was mapped
That was
storms.
my understanding.
It
So
was
that was
map storms, that was the vulnerability assessment done through the University of Florida. And that's the basis for the vulnerability assessment and keeping the standard on the bay side, or on the Gulf side.
On the Gulf side.
On the Gulf side, yeah.
Thank you.
You're correct. The one thing, because we're going to get into, I just kind of looked ahead. There are some things that we can do because everything's kind of negative, and it is because this is a significant issue and it affects people's lives, and we're fully cognizant of that. But we're also looking at things that we can do in the interim. For instance, we know we have a housing issue. It's hard for people to even find a place right now. There's things that we can do with temporary occupancy permits, for instance. So while you're going through this process, as long as the home is safe and the electrical, it's not a fire, are there things that we can do with temporary occupancy to allow people to do small improvements while they're waiting to go through a grant process and some of the things that they're going to talk about now? And so we're looking at all those things to come up with a way to work with people, to help people, because of the delay in all of this and, kind of upending their life and, having to have a temporary place. And so all those things we're looking at from a staff level, we'll have more to come on those, but just know that we're trying to find everything we can to help people in this process. And so more to come on that, but I did want you to understand we're looking at those types of things. Correct. If they're, first, if they're not substantially damaged, well, then they can begin that rebuilding process. But let's just say you received a substantial damage, which means you got to elevate your home or something. Well, it's not unsafe if you have the electrical and plumbing and stuff working. Can you do a temporary occupancy that allows you to put up some cheap drywall and a small kitchen and be able to occupy while you're going through a grant process that may take 2 years? So we're looking at all those types of things, and,
Why don't
you
I
know,
jump to that section now, just to kind of,
so I just want, and I don't know what we can do with it, you know, and staff's probably cringing in the background, but, you know, we're going to look at everything we can to help people, you know, and I just want the board to understand that we are looking at everything we possibly can, and it does have to be safe, and we're not going to, you know, we can't issue a temporary occupancy for something that's unsafe, but there's things that we can do.
so with the, oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, I've got a quick question. So, so every home, if you're in the floodplain area, so every home, whether they receive damage or not, has to have a substantial damage assessment?
They need to be assessed, whether, if the inspector shows up and every window is fine, the roof looks perfectly fine, and everything looks good, there's no visible damages, take a photo, and let's move to the next house.
So, but every home is going to get a knock on the door.
Sorry?
Every house is going to get a knock on the door.
I'll defer to the county on their process. If,
Yeah.
It will likely be the vast majority, but not every home. What we've done to identify properties that will go through a substantial damage assessment, inspection, and in the process is we've created numerous data sets, properties that had a tag of a major degree of damage when it was associated with either Helene or Milton. We've had the benefit of modeling pre-firm homes, which are homes typically built in the 70s that would be ground floor below base flood elevation standards that were inundated with 18 inches of water or more. So we're using those tools to identify which homes will go through a substantial damage inspection. We're also finding that we have some, we're ramping up now, seeing a greater permitting volume coming in at intake. We're able to screen those properties and determine whether there needs to be an inspection. And in most cases, yes, before a permit can be processed. So that's our approach.
Are we actually issuing permits right now?
So we have a limited number of permits that are being issued within a floodplain. Generally speaking, those have been exclusive to electrical riser, electrical re-energizing a home. Almost everything else is going to need to go through the substantial damage inspection.
How can a homeowner determine if they need a substantial damage assessment before they can start doing repairs? Because they may, I mean, homeowners are doing repairs now, the things that they can do that after the fact they may need to get a permit to be compliant with, but how do they know right now whether they should do that work or not?
So we've set up resources now, which will be further augmented starting next week, where on our telephone tree, our dedicated line to BDRS with 3888, where all calls with regard to permitting substantial damage inquiries will get forwarded to a subject matter expert within our plan examining department. They will be able to walk them through to understand that the entire scope of repair needs to be evaluated. And once we have a sort of a calibration on that, we'll likely be able to immediately let them know that an SD inspection needs to take place. Going forward as early as next week, we are also again utilizing our on-call vendor contracts to have as many as 3 to 5 subject matter experts that will be full-time staffing all of this support.
Thank you, Kevin. Commissioner Long?
Thank you, Commissioner. So all of this discussion that we're having right here this morning is kind of very pertinent to those of us that work in government and public policy and all of that. But I can't help but think about all the average citizens out there who have no clue how complicated governing and governance really is. And so it causes me to wonder if this isn't a really good subject. I don't know what the messaging would be. We have to leave that to Barbara. But to do a public service announcement out to our citizens to give them a word of advice about, hey, you might want to just pause and take a deep breath and give us some time to put X, Y, Z in place, because, you know, people are busy with their lives, and those folks that have lost everything, what we're listening to is the last thing on their mind. They wouldn't even know how to begin to think that way.
Completely.
Is that wrong-headed?
Commissioner, you know, Barbara just sent me a text that said exactly that. They've been working, they have a whole communication plan that they're, you know, have ready or we're working on to be able to do that. And so that is forefront in our minds. And that's also the reason we kicked off that substantial damage process as early as possible, to give certainty to people about, you know, where they stand. And the reason we brought in outside resources. So.
Well, truly, if, you know, for those of us that have been fielding some of these calls, people are so upset and so frustrated and just so overwhelmed, they just don't even know where to start. Getting up and putting one foot in front of the other is about the best they can do.
I mean, Barbara and her team have been absolutely fantastic in getting the communications and developing messages, and her team's, the complexities of the programs that are about this long list of, on the Gantt chart of these different programs, these different rules are incredibly overwhelming for the individual homeowner. And having those messages, simplifying what is needed, having applications go through a single process, and in the background is the triage of, okay, this person's eligible for this bucket, this person's eligible for this bucket. Those have been ongoing conversations, but completely agree. Even our clients that had aggressive communications strategies after Michael and Ian, the lesson learned after every disaster is there can always be more. So, and having already that kind of plan being developed is incredibly ahead of the game than what we've seen on other disasters that you guys are working on.
Thank you.
Commissioner Eggers, you have a question?
So we're trying to tell our residents that it may take 3 to 6 months to get all the debris up. So Kevin, I don't know why you keep sitting back down over there, because these probably are questions for you, but
Kevin's
so
not debris.
that effort to do the substantial damage assessment, how much time are we talking to get those done? And would it make sense for people to do, you know, that in anticipation, doing their own assessment through their professionals to have it ready, even though they may not know what's going to come down from the assessment from the government side? Because there are people that just aren't going to want to wait 2 months, 3 months, and so they want to get an idea, like what it's going to, am I going to make that threshold? Thoughts on that?
I would defer to them on how others have handled that. Obviously, I just looked over to Tom, and we're talking 2 to 3 months to get through all the substantial damage determinations. And so, you know, there is a delay, but we're working hard to try to move that timeline up as much as possible.
And I don't know that that's unreasonable
Right,
at all.
but it is for a homeowner, and
Yeah.
to your point,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
right? I understand that. So the question is should they spend the money to do their own determination and before we've even determined whether they're impacted? I just don't know the answer to that.
So with that, you can, and having designs be made in terms of what would a repair look like, and working with the general contractor to be able to put together those estimates, be able to understand what build back looks like. They can have that. We've been discussing also what are the other balls that are in their court, so that they feel that the people feel empowered to be able to, all right, this is my homework, this is the things I need to get done, which is applying for FEMA individual assistance, which is not going to make anyone whole, because the maximum amount of money that they're going to be able to get is $42,000, and that's the maximum that FEMA individual assistance will pay for to repair and replace home.
Sorry, but that's out of the one grant program. There are
The
other
the
grant
FEMA
programs.
Individual Assistance Program, yes. So then there is also SBA that has a loan program, and that applying for that and seeing what resources are available through that program. If they have NFIP insurance or have flood insurance through a private vendor, then going through that process of understanding what are the total amount of damages, getting quotes from their insurance company of what a repair would look like. And then also, do they have access to the increased compliance costs dollars through NFIP that would help pay for the evaluation? So on their end, over the next couple of months, is looking at all the different programs, and what they need to be doing at first is FEMA IA, then if they have insurance, going through their insurance process, assessing whether or not they will need a loan through SBA or through a private vendor, and getting those ducks in a line. And then additionally, there are other resources that the county and the state can advocate for to provide additional resources to their jurisdictions. There are certain programs that are automatically turned on when you have a major disaster declaration, which are the ones that I previously mentioned: SBA, IA, and Small Business Administration, Individual Assistance, and I've told people to throw paper at me when I use my acronym soup. If the National Flood Insurance Program insurance policies, if they have an active policy. The rest of these lines require advocacy, require providing data and communicating the need. So for example, I think we talked about the next line. Well, with here, it's communicating the need. I spoke with that element. Looking at your existing programs, and this is the little Band-Aid of assistance that can at least start the conversation of there are existing programs that the county has, and looking at what can be done to fill that immediate Band-Aid and start providing assistance. Maximizing the FEMA individual assistance payout and insurance payout is not an automatic process. My neighbor, my home was built to current building code. It is a newer home. We lost a couple shingles from Hurricane Michael. My neighbor, their home was destroyed. This was an older home and was not built to current code. It was pre-Andrew. So they just settled their insurance claim. Michael was 6 years ago. So, and then a number of individuals, what we're hearing and anecdotally in emergency management is working to get the actual data, is potential denials of individual assistance or not receiving the full $42,000 per person. So there's a potential of utilizing a nonprofit legal advocacy groups and partnering with them, connecting the public to those resources to help in that very difficult process of making insurance claims, substantiating those claims, meeting all those documentation requirements, saying the right thing. Because with FEMA IA, one of the complications that are going to be happening right now for your population, which is incredibly unique, is they have to say the right thing for Debbie, they have to say a separate right thing for Helene, and they have to say a separate right thing for Milton on 3 different phone calls. If they mix that up, there can be delays or reductions in the amount of assistance that they receive. So that communication that Commissioner Long had mentioned is absolutely critical in communicating what the needs are, what are the words that need to be said, and communicating their needs and providing those resources in case management. And then finally is advocating for additional resources and communicating the need. We've previously discussed Bay County and Panama City. Their number 1 priority was housing. Michael destroyed 60% of the housing stock and damaged 90% of the housing stock. So that was their number 1 priority. They vocalized that need to Tallahassee, and they received $42 million specifically for housing to create the program that went along with their substantial damage assessment process, but not just limited to that group, to the entirety of Bay County residents, so that they were able to either repair their homes, have rental assistance beyond what FEMA would pay for, and then or buy a new home, which there's been a lot of development within the area with low to moderate income housing as well as townhouses and things along those lines. And additionally, advocacy to the federal level, that's where Lee County really shined. And they got $1.1 billion of community development block grant disaster recovery assistance. With that funding, that was the last allocation that has happened. The poor folks in Hawaii are still waiting for their allocation. That is money down the line, if and when it comes, but does require that advocacy and communicating the unmet need.
So I'm assuming that partnership with you will help us determine that advocacy process?
We can help with that, yes, sir.
And then I guess that this includes mobile homes, it includes commercial properties in floodplains. So that's defined, just real quickly again, I know like Zone A, Zone B, how do those relate to floodplains and where the assessments are going to be made?
So in the yellow and the red.
Okay, all right.
So we-
That's
we-
what you
we-
said earlier, and
No worries.
I'm
It's
circling back.
It's hard because we always talk about evacuation zones, but this is a defined special flood hazard area, which in most cases mirrors that, but it's a specifically defined special flood hazard area.
So mobile homes that are not in those areas will not be, I mean, we've had a couple of emails from folks that are homeowners in mobile homes, and they were saying, they're like, when's the county going to tell us what, and I'm assuming by that question that they're in one of the yellow or red areas, but, who knows?
When we get there, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but it's only for those zones.
Okay.
I mean, the-
Substantial damage assessment processes, a specific, NFIP requires it for those specific zones. Resources that may be available, I mean, the people that are hurting are not only in those zones. So in terms of the housing programs and resources that are available to folks that homes may have had a tree fall on them or, I'm not in a flood zone. If my house wasn't elevated a foot, we'd flood regularly. So folks experience damage.
We saw that with, 20 inches of rain in areas, people that are not in a special flood hazard area, but they flooded, right? Okay, there's different issues. It just doesn't fall under this program, this substantial damage
Exactly.
determination. But they still need assistance. We still need to work, with them.
And that's where this long list of different programs that exist, each one has their own flavor of a population that specifically they're aiming to support. So flood mitigation assistance through FEMA, for example, that provides funding to elevate homes. That is exclusively for the folks in the yellow and the red. While there are other grant programs that would be available to make repairs to homes that are in the flood zone. So we're not wanting to get into the weeds of that, but there are a wide variety of different types of programs that could provide support, and it's a matter of putting the puzzle pieces of recovery together. It is.
That's the tough part for a lot of folks in this process.
It is.
Putting the pieces of the puzzles together.
And one of the questions is, what's our role in that? Because, each community is individual, but we may need to roll up and have a single ask, for us as a region, yet you've got 24, cities. And, and you typically don't get all you ask for, so how do you do that, right? So there's some internal discussions that we're looking on what is our role, how do we partner with our cities, with allowing them to remain independent cities and make their own choices, and some, some grant programs have local matches. So there has to be a determination on how that's done. And, so there's a lot with these grants that is kind of, mind-numbing to think through. But that is a process that we're looking at. Lee County set up, for instance, kind of a housing, office, and they set it up a certain way. I want to know how others have done it also. And so we're trying to ask those questions and be thoughtful about, and it will definitely require some outside assistance and, staffing up and maintaining, things like that. And we're just getting into those types of discussions.
Commissioner Flowers.
So this may be a question for Mr. Twitty back. Oh, he was back there. Okay. Okay, well, he's coming back. That's why he ran, because he knew I was going to ask a question.
Well, he's meeting with our staff this afternoon and me regarding this exact topic.
So my My question, or I guess concern is, and maybe you have some examples. I think I mentioned this to you, Barry, when we were talking. Because of some of the standards that the homeowners will have to meet as far as elevation of homes, whether or not they're 49% or greater for repairs or rehabilitation. If you, like, I own my home right now, so I pay X amount of taxes. I'm not moving, I'm not gonna build anything onto my house that's gonna take me into the new tax thing, property tax thing. But for some of these individuals, that's gonna happen. And so I guess my question to Mike was, how are we gonna handle that? Because that can, we already get questions or concerns or emails about the property tax that people are paying. This is, if you're like me and you bought your home, and I bought my home in 1993, I paid it off 7 years ago, so my taxes is nowhere near what someone who would buy a house 2,000 square feet the size of mine now, nowhere near. So
I
this
really,
is
really
also gonna,
wish he was here for that, because, he advocated on a bill that talked about where you make improvements.
Right.
Because of that, but I don't want to speak on that because, I'm not an expert. But he advocated, and I think there was a bill passed that talked about
I believe it was
those
30%, that you
improvements.
could do up to 30% enhancements on your property and remain at the same property tax value, and anything above, I believe that's what it was, but don't hold me to it.
I don't want to speak to it.
I
but-
think he's going to be back. I see some of his
He left his
items
stuff.
still
Oh,
here,
okay.
so
He left his
he'll be
stuff.
back.
But I just, because
Speak to
we're,
that, because it's a technical,
yeah,
question.
that's why I said I didn't
Yeah.
realize he had gone, but, we're gonna have, hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike, I think you're up.
It was me. Hey, Mike.
Come on up,
My
Mike.
question, Mr. Twitty, is, and you and I did talk a little bit before the meeting started, just conversating, but for those individuals who will have to concur now with the current elevation requirements, for those who may have had substantial damage to their homes, and so they're having to have, in some cases, almost a complete rebuild or complete rehab. And let's say that person was in this property tax range, right? And now because of the added construction and/or new construction, that takes them over into a newer property tax value based on what our current rates are. Do you know how we'll handle that?
Yes.
That can be huge,
Yes.
huge sticker shock.
And I have some good news to share there.
Okay, I'm ready to write the
So-
good news.
Right. So in state law, there's a provision called the calamity provision that relates to rebuilding and protecting your assessed value. So if you elevate your existing home or you knock it down and build a completely new home, your assessed value is protected as long as you don't exceed 110% of your original square footage.
Okay,
Anything over the 110 is treated as new construction.
right.
So for example, if you had, say, a 2,000 square foot at-grade home, let's say you didn't knock it, it really doesn't matter whether you're starting new or you're elevating an existing. You bring it up in the air. If you just leave it on piles, you're really not going, you're going to be fine, you're going to be within the 110. If you create an enclosure on the bottom, you're going to break the 110%. However, that square footage is not valued nearly as high as what's up above. For example, a garage is typically 35% of what living area is.
Okay.
So it's not a big hit on the tax side for people.
You're the one that led this provision, correct?
Well, no, so it's been in state law for many years. However, we did I championed a constitutional amendment to try and make it proactive rather than reactive.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that did not pass.
Okay.
The people in Lee County voted for it overwhelmingly. Unfortunately, in Pinellas and Hillsborough, we didn't hit the 60% threshold. We were about a point and a half shy statewide. Part of that is the way, they write constitutional amendments, and it gets confusing, and unfortunately, the media at the 11th hour said, oh, it's too confusing, vote no. Rather than to really understand it and get into the statutory implementing language guidelines or guardrails that were actually on it. So we're We're getting a lot of inquiries about maybe revisiting that in a different way, a slightly different way that maybe might even not have to require a constitutional amendment going forward, but that will, that'll get shaken out here soon.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
That is good news.
So so rebuilding, a new design or whatever, as long as you're no more than 110% of the square footage.
Right.
The
We
asse-
basically start you again at that same assessed value whenever you finish your project.
Great.
And a couple of other nuggets there. So the window of time you have to do that is 5 years from this coming January 1. And that is commenced by pulling a permit. So as long as you pull a permit to start within 5 years of January 1, you can still conform to the calamity rule requirement. Another thing, a lot of people are asking, am I going to get a reduction in my 2024 assessment or taxes as a result? Keep in mind, everything's as of January 1, everything is in arrears. Those values were set on January 1. The tax collector is still going to send bills that are going to start hitting people, unfortunately, around November 1. However, what they can do is if they've been displaced and their home is uninhabitable for 30 days or more as a result of the storm, then they can apply for a rebate. So they do unfortunately have to satisfy their tax bill for 24, and then in the early part of 25, they can apply for the rebate once they know the number of days uninhabitable. We know a lot of those are going to be basically from the storm event to year end in this case. So roughly 25% of the year. It does not apply to your entire property value. It applies to your improvement value.
So, and is that storm to storm? Because, we had Helene, she was just disrespectful.
Yes, that
She was
counts.
first, so it's storm to storm or just,
It's basically catastrophic event to catastrophic event. So, and we do the number of days calculation from each one. And if you go to our website, we have the rebate form there where they can go ahead and apply, and it shows the number of days. Just as an example, if you're going to be displaced through the end of the year, we have the number of days already pre-calculated for each event. Even Debbie, because some people flooded inland from Debbie. So it has all three of those events on there.
all right. Thank you. Good information.
Thank you.
Glad you didn't leave, Mike.
Yeah.
That was good to know. Thanks.
I'll turn it back over to these ladies.
Yeah,
Thanks, Mike.
I think they're pretty much kind of done. So, this was just, really an overview. Obviously, we can answer any more questions. There's a lot of more work to do, and, we'll certainly keep this on the agenda to have future discussions as we kind of move forward.
Just one last thing. We had 4 reasons why it's important to follow these guidelines. I think you went over them. Reducing flood damage, decreasing risk, taxpayer burden, affordable insurance.
Well, and
and
one
those-
more, which is grants,
Which is what,
and
Barry? I'm sorry.
is grants. If you don't follow this, it could jeopardize, grants
Access to
that are
grants.
available to our homeowners.
And also, you may have to return some of the grants that are currently active. You have over $50 million of HMGP currently open, and if any dollar related to that $50 million touches a floodplain, that dollar would have to be returned.
If you're not included in an.
If you decide to not participate with NFIP.
And so any of that decision to deviate from the plan would rest with the commission?
Absolutely.
Okay, and they're not staff, it's commission.
No,
decision.
we're-
And I'm not suggesting it, that we do, I'm just saying.
Yeah, so, so we're going forward and enforcing the ordinance. We have an active ordinance. It's staff delegated process, right, through our ordinance, and so we're doing that through the substantial damage process. But we're going to come back to you and talk about these steps that we're doing. And if you choose to, make a motion to eliminate our ordinance, well, then that would be a commission decision. I'd advise against it because of all the things they've talked about. But, this is a big deal. And I understand as elected representatives of our citizens, these rest right with this body. But we're trying to outline all of the examples. We're trying to bracket this and we're trying to pull it all together, because it's one thing where people are impacted, but we also need to be able to communicate about what's available, and really manage expectations on those timelines. But, we're working through that now. We'll, again, keep this on the agenda and continue to have discussions as we move forward.
How long for that? You said 60 to 90 days? I'm sorry, I want to make sure I.
That's for the determination to be completed, not the inspection. The inspections, you think will be, obviously, it's got to be quicker.
So all of the inspection and the determination, we're estimating 2 to 3 months. But remember, individual can connect with the county if they want to begin a permit process, and we can activate the inspection immediately so that process can be completed. This is just we're being proactive, but at the same time, allowing individual residents to begin the process.
So a contractor could start some design, they could do some design work, some estimating, come in for a permit, and then you say,
We do the
okay,
inspection
hold
if it hasn't been done, and begin that process, so then they can pull a permit.
And I just, a quick note, I mean, because we have this with debris, I think people forget there's 280,000 people in unincorporated, Pinellas County. And so it takes, there's a lot of properties that are impacted. It's not just the beach, it's not just Shore Acres, it's every enclave and small area, throughout the county. So there's a lot of places to get to.
I think Commissioner Lavelle, and I think then Commissioner Flowers.
So between the two storms, there were roughly 50,000 homes that sustained minor or major damage, correct?
I haven't looked at the dashboard. in a while.
Using, well, my question was going to be, do we know how many, rough estimate, how many were in unincorporated? And that number may have been off. Okay.
Just in terms of the numbers, we're working on trying to create estimates. Major doesn't necessarily equate to substantially damaged because, for example, your mobile homes, if they're built before the building code changes, if they got wet, they may be substantially damaged.
So there might be some that be considered minor damage that would fit the criteria for, okay. Okay.
Did you still want the numbers?
Probably doesn't matter at this point. Thank you.
Commissioner Flowers, and then Commissioner Justice.
Thank you. So 3 days ago, it was reported that citizens had denied over 3/4 of the claims from Debbie.
Okay.
And of course, there's concern about the claims now from Helene and Milton. They were so close together.
Yeah.
Have you heard, only because you have relationships with FEMA, have you heard any chitter chatter about any issues with insurance companies pulling out or whatnot? Because a lot of us were, I'm one of them. I was taken from mine. I was told I was no longer covered under my insurance company. They left, and then I was required to go under Citizens. And a lot of homes that were built before 1947, well, 1950, some of them were denied because of the age of the home and pre-building codes.
Yeah.
So I'm just really concerned as well because you have some people who sustained damage during Debbie, found out that they're not getting any support or help, and then sustained damage during Helene and/or Milton. So
Under their insurance policies?
yeah.
It is, just as Commissioner Long and a number of you have articulated, it is a very difficult process. And my neighbor, 6 years later, just finishing the litigation that was required for her to receive the full amount that she, even then, she didn't get the full amount that she thought that she was entitled to under the policy, but at least an amount that they can recoup some of the dollars that they put out themselves or on the loans that they took out. So with the different insurance policies and which vendors agree to participate with NFIP within Florida, that is an ongoing issue. There was one that was very controversial, well, not very much discussed after Ian, because a number of the companies pulled out of Florida, because the reason why NFIP exists is it's not a solvent program. It requires the taxpayers to, the NFIP program dips into additional dollars because the amount that they're recouping through policies, active policies, is less than the amount that they're paying out with the recent disaster activity that we've had ever since Harvey, Irma, and Maria. So it is a difficult process to navigate for anyone, even if you are, such as myself. My husband was navigating his insurance claim from Michael, and it took a year for the minimal amount of, and he's got an Excel spreadsheet for everything. So it is a difficult process, and if you say the wrong word, it can result in a denial letter. And I know that the county team is doing so many things to try to get the data so that, and understanding exactly what's going on, because these are largely FEMA-administered programs, and the county's role is to educate the public, to advocate for the public, and work with FEMA to try to maximize the amount of assistance for the people. But it is difficult, and it is a long process, unfortunately. So as much, I keep on hearing from the county staff of, we're proactive, we're gonna help our people, and it is a long haul. So and Lourdes said, you've said this a couple of times, I hear you, is recovery is not a hat. Recovery is gonna be a long effort. One thing that Panama City did and Lee County did and Miami-Dade did during COVID was that recovery requires the full attention of a team, that they're advocating, they're in the weeds. My proudest moment is when my client can speak an entire sentence in acronyms. And I'm like, oh, okay. So being able to get into those weeds and advocate to FEMA and the different programs for your people, for your residents, so they can get what they should under these programs, under their policies. So I haven't heard specifics about insurance companies pulling out as a result of Helene and Milton. I'm sure those conversations are coming, but it is, especially due to the nature of Debbie, Helene, and Milton, it is going to be even more complicated than the one Cat 5 that hit Bay County.
Well, Homestead is still barren land in some areas. Mexico Beach still in some areas looks like it just got hit the other day, and it was some time ago. So thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if you don't think the line of those small companies that they dumped all the policies out of citizens, that line of bankruptcy claims are going to happen, it's absolute. I mean, we've seen this movie again and again since 1992, but
Since Andrew.
it hasn't been learned up in Tallahassee. I did want to have questions about we talk about the consequences. That's what, is hanging over everyone's head about the consequences. The loss of mortgage access, is that new mortgages or is that like canceling? I mean, is that put current mortgages in jeopardy?
So NFIP is a federal program, and first NFIP, if a jurisdiction isn't meeting minimum requirements, they put them on probation. At that point, everyone that received a discount will lose those discounts, and then they'll receive an additional $50 fee if they are officially put on probation. There's a lot of warnings that happen until that point. For example, all the jurisdictions in Lee County have received the warning of probation will happen if we don't get this information and everyone's adhering by November 19th of this year. So probation then happens. Most jurisdictions at that point then start complying. If after a lot of effort on NFIP and the jurisdictions, if they're not seeing the progress being made to come out of probation, they could do a suspension. Jurisdictions that aren't participating, or the jurisdiction can say, we don't want to participate in NFIP. It is a completely voluntary program. At that point, mortgages that are backed by a federally regulated entity such as Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, would not be able to have mortgages in the flood zone unless the homeowner found private flood insurance that meets the requirements and equal coverage that NFIP provides. So they could go to the private sector and get flood insurance on par with what NFIP should provide.
At about how much different rate between that NFIP and the private flooding provider?
There's a reason why NFIP exists.
Yeah, if you go on some of those private providers and enter your information, I think you'll be surprised at what your estimated rate is compared to what you pay in the federal program. That leads me to my next question is, has FEMA dropped the hammer on any community into that full,
Suspension?
suspension to where we got the worst case scenario for homeowners?
So FEMA has suspended jurisdictions before, and jurisdictions have elected to not participate. Those jurisdictions are not in Florida. In Florida, when the threat of the hammer came, most jurisdictions said, okay, we'll do what we need to do in order to maintain NFIP. So for example, Monroe County, after Hurricane Irma, what's currently occurring with Lee County, Cape Coral, Village of Estero, and a number of other municipalities in Lee County, East Baton Rouge Parish in Louisiana. When the threat of the hammer comes, most jurisdictions at that point say, all right, this is what we need to do. Unfortunately, the threat of the hammer comes 2 to 4 years later.
Gotcha.
And when the auditors come. So at that point, you've already repaired your home. I've already spent all of my insurance dollars on the roof. I've already spent the $42,000 that FEMA provided on this wall. And now I have a letter coming in saying I need to elevate my home, which in this area, I'm understanding is going to be a $300,000 plus effort for some of these homes. So that's where doing it in a timely manner, while understandably, folks are already going through a lot. For the folks in Louisiana, they had to kind of go back to the drawing board of what kind of assistance can be provided because all the normal disaster assistance programs had already been rolled out. And they had to reallocate a lot of existing dollars to help those folks.
And then, Barry, the part I'm still trying to completely understand is the difference of our role countywide, unincorporated cities, as we talk about the participation, about the regulation, about the evaluations of substantial, all those things, where our role is and where the individual cities, because we see, obviously, we have huge impacts in some areas of unincorporated, but it is, the cities that have taken the beating. So just trying to understand our role in all of that with the cities.
So just like debris, everybody has their own plan. Okay, so each jurisdiction has an ordinance. And it could vary between each jurisdiction. Obviously, it has to be compliant to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program, but each jurisdiction will now need to enforce that. So for instance, I'll use an example. We have 7 contract communities, which we're the building inspectors for. So we're going to do the inspection for them as part of that program, but then they'll have to do the substantial damage determination, and they'll have to make that ruling as a local jurisdiction. And then every other community will have to do the same thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a few questions. So on that line there, so Pinellas County has an NFIP rating of 2. So that does not extend to the municipalities? They have their own ratings?
That's correct.
Okay. Just curious, do we know what the scale is for the rest of those communities? I mean,
I'm sure Lisa does.
From 2 to
No.
10 or?
Maybe not.
I was just talking with Catherine Stark, and she told me they're at a 4.
They're at a 4 in Pasco? Okay. So it's just unincorporated Pinellas County, that's at a 2?
That's unincorporated, yes.
Got it, okay. So I've got a couple of questions, and some of these may be for Mike, but if somebody gets a substantial damage letter, and they say, I don't agree with this, and they go out and get a appraiser to do an appraiser of their home, can you talk, what does that process look like?
Well, so it's outlined within our ordinance, that process, and so that's some of the things we're working on this afternoon is to further clarify that process and how that will work.
Okay.
But that, yeah, it's not an assessor issue, it's a county ordinance issue. And we have to comply with the federal requirements, which was how our ordinance was determined. And so we have to follow that process.
Okay. And then, earlier I was asking questions about the expiration, that 12-month period, look-back period. So let's say somebody gets a SDA letter, and they did $50,000 worth of work on their home. But by the time that they can even get a contractor out to even think about looking at their home,
Past the year.
that's expired.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Does that now
Yeah,
take them
that's
out of an SDA?
That's a Kevin issue, and I'm sure that there's going to be people that look at that, and you pull a permit based upon when the expiration, to where you have the capacity to be able to do the improvements.
Right.
That would be my guess.
So the distinction between substantial improvement and substantial damage is an easy one to kind of blend together and cause some confusion. The look back, the 12-year cumulative rolling cost that we spoke about has no relevance to substantial damage determination. Substantial damage determination, again, is strictly the cost of the repair to return that structure to its to that existing condition.
Okay.
Doesn't have anything to do, the substantial improvement, if someone, for all other properties in a floodplain that ultimately that don't get a substantial damage determination, those properties will still be subject to substantial improvement, which means that it's at that point in time that we will be looking at that 12-month cumulative period to ensure that their cost of improvements doesn't pierce the 49%, which otherwise then would require it to go up into full compliance.
So it means nothing with substantial damage?
No.
Substantial
Okay.
improvement? Okay, all right. Thank you, Kevin. I think, it's been, we're formulating a lot of this stuff right now, but it's been a month since Helene, so we need to get this information out. We have to have an effective communications plan to make sure that we're getting this information out to residents as timely and accurately as quickly as we possibly can. So I just want to emphasize the need for communications to just be all over this as much as they possibly can. Will we be allowing any FEMA trailers and/or transitional housing?
So, so again, each jurisdiction has their own issues. Under state law, you're allowed a trailer for, if you want to park it in your, front yard and do connections. It has to be compliant. If you're going to hook up to sewer, it's going to hook up to electrical. That was part of the inspectors that we are requesting for assistance, because that's what they saw in Fort Myers. They couldn't get out to inspect the electrical hookups for, the camper that's going to be in their front yard for the next 6 months.
Right.
And so those are allowed. We did have a question about whether in a homeowners association, and they'll have to look with their own legal counsel about private, entities like that. But from a county standpoint, and I think each jurisdiction, that's governed by state law, that provides for that flexibility. And so, we'll be able to handle those types of requests as they come in. We're not looking at FEMA trailers right now, but that is something that is obviously a possibility. There's a whole host of issues with doing things like that, especially in a built-out county. But we do have a capacity issue. So I think, and we're going to have to work with our jurisdictions in terms of what they're looking for within their jurisdictions. So, we can't make a determination on things like that without our partners who govern their particular areas.
Okay, any other questions? No? All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your time and all of the information.
Great, thank you, guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. All right. All right, so I think now we're on to agenda review.
Agenda review?
Yep.
Okay, all right, let's go. So We got a Veterans Day proclamation. I think the chair has pulled the animal shelter proclamation. We're going to move that to a different date. We got a bunch of different reports. We go down to, I think, the first major issues, item number 12 for solid waste. It's a notice of grant award. This is for the removal of waste tires from county artificial reef locations.
So, Barry, was that, so those tires were put there intentionally at one point in the past, and now they're
Yes.
now they're deemed hazardous? Is that
Yeah,
the deal?
yes. I think that's correct. Yeah. It's a grant program, so, it's not costing us, but
What do we
yes.
put in their place once we remove the tires?
Well, I'm sure Mike had some good dives out there, to look at the artificial reefs and stuff, but yes. Have to go to a new location. Item 16, this is a public transportation grant, Florida Department of Transportation. This is for design and construction with the new parking garage at the airport. Item 17 is ranking of firms with Republic Parking Systems. This is for the airport paid public parking management operation.
Quick question on that item. It says that PI will receive 83% of the share of revenues. Does that change over time, or is that consistent through the entire term of the contract? Do we know?
Do you know the answer to that? Consistent? Consistent through the entire tier.
Okay, thank you.
Item 18 is local arts agency funding agreement with Creative Pinellas. So this is consistent with past years. There has been talk about future. This is just maintaining what we currently have.
Okay. Do we know what the circulation of that publication is?
I don't. We can ask Brian on
Okay.
on Tuesday if you don't mind. It's not a publication. This is grant funds to both Creative Pinellas and
Well,
out of
Arts
Tourism
Coast
Development
Magazine
Tax.
was mentioned, so that's why I asked that. But, okay.
Oh, I see. We can ask him on Tuesday.
Okay.
They'll give him a heads up. Item 19 is grant award with Health and Human Services. This is for our drug treatment, adult treatment drug courts. Item 20, again, another grant, SAMHSA grant, for the same thing. Item 21's adoption of a tourist and development tax revenue supplemental bond. Okay, so this is the bond issues for the Major League raised baseball stadium that we previously approved. This is actually authorizing the bond issuance.
Okay. Question on that is,
Sure.
can you just walk through that a little bit if we, I don't know, we haven't determined what we're going to bond for yet, right? How much?
Oh, yeah, we still have flexibility. So within that, it provides for us the flexibility on the amount that we want to do, and there's a process to do that. Okay. And so we have time to be able to determine that. This initiates that process, delegates that process to where we can do that. Probably the bonds wouldn't be issued till probably January or so. Don's here. He's been the lead on this. He can answer any questions regarding the process. But this is consistent with our previous agreement. Okay. This is our part.
Our part, okay.
That's correct. Item 22 is award of bid to Highway Safety Devices for Starkey Road signalization. 23 is Bridge Investment Grant Program for the replacement of Dunedin Causeway. So this allows us, this is a grant application, and which is consistent with past discussions and prioritization. This just puts us in, it doesn't commit, it's an application, and we'll determine whether it ranks high enough to be eligible for federal funds or not.
What's the timeline on that? Any idea?
You have an idea on timeline, Jill?
Summer, okay. So 8 to 10 months probably. Okay.
Yeah, and there's, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of discussion we need to have around Dunedin Causeway, but this will tell us whether we have federal funds to consider it or not.
Right.
Item 24 is the First Amendment to recycling services. This is for our unincorporated drop-off locations. Item 25 is the Third Amendment to Reworld Waste. Okay, so this is the waste-to-energy facility. This bridges us, or no, this bridges us to where we can complete the bid for potentially a new operator. Item 26, Second Amendment to an agreement with Conde Holdings. This is for corrosion control chemical blends in our utility wastewater system, or water system, sorry. Item 27 is advanced life support first responder agreements with 18 municipalities. These are consistent with what was in the 2025 adopted budget.
A question on that, just curious, why did Eastlake only opt for 1 year and South Pasadena for 3 when the others opted for, I think it was 5?
Any idea on that, Lourdes?
I don't have on the Eastlake. Lourdes Benedict, Assistant County Administrator. So on Eastlake, I know they're having a lot of traffic issues and a lot of more calls, so I believe that's why they're doing it. And South Pasadena has had some issues that we've talked with them about in the last several years. So they're also looking at their data and what they want to do next, so they felt 3 years would be better.
Item 28, Fire Protection Services Agreement with 9 municipalities. And they're outlined here.
Under item number 29, we are asking that this item be withdrawn. Unfortunately, we do not have a settlement to bring forward, so we will proceed forward and file suit, which you have previously authorized. And I do not plan any reports under item number 30.
I will have a county administrator's report. I think the chair asked that we move the storm report up to the beginning of the agenda so we can make that, at request at that time.
At that time, if we have comments, questions that we want to talk about relating to that, we'll bring it up at that point.
Sure.
Is that good? All right.
And
I want to do it today, in other words.
I also wanted to highlight that Ken Burke asked us to bring a debt policy. So I'll ask him that under the county administrator's report, we can discuss it. There are just minor revisions to it. It's actually very strong. He alluded to that in the memo that he sent you regarding the money we're spending and things like that. But we can discuss it as part of county administrator's report briefly, and then we'll have it on for a future agenda. Okay. We didn't receive it. You've got a number of appointments. They're listed here within your packet, those 4 items. And then we have a few public hearings. So item 36, Brownsfield area designation for Rainbow Village, green reuse area.
A question on that one.
Sure.
I mean, the county doesn't determine that it's a brownfield. That is actually some other government agency, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
This is a procedural part for our, I'm making that assumption? Okay, thank you. Right, I just,
Yes.
checking those boxes.
Yes.
Is it the intention to rehab that, rehabilitate it? Or?
That we have money to be able to rehab that, but Jill's on her way up. She obviously knows more.
If the designation is approved, then DEP will have a remediation plan that will be worked with the property owner, which is not us, but really close to us. So, yeah, we wouldn't know that yet. They'll just have to see what's there.
Very good. Thank you.
Item 37, this item is being withdrawn, but it was already advertised, so it's on here.
Why are we withdrawing that?
I think it was a request of the property owner. No? Tom, go ahead. I forget. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even read down. This is our short-term rental. Go ahead.
Tom Almonte, Assistant County Administrator. We had to revisit the enforcement that we had included in the ordinance due to recent information that we've received from players in the industry. So we had to go back and revisit how we can enforce some of those areas.
So, a challenge was raised regarding the enforcement mechanism within our current ordinance, so we want to do this once. So we're going to take a look at that, work with the county attorney's office before we ask you to approve the short-term rental policy. So it's a piece that is currently within our ordinance that somebody has raised objections to, and so we want to make sure that when we ask for its adoption, we do it all together. So we need to review that with the county attorney's office before we bring it forward.
Any idea on timeline on that?
We're going to do our best to bring it back as soon as we can.
Well, please do. It continues to be a hot button item.
I understand.
Item 38 is a request for a land use amendment from commercial neighborhood to low residential. This is Habitat for Humanity. It's a companion item to 39. These are just for 2 single-family affordable homes. Both recommended for approval. Item 40 is a request for a vacation for a pool, and staff has no objection.
I think we'd all like a vacation.
Say again?
I think we'd all like a vacation.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Item 41 is also a vacation, south 10 feet of a 70-foot drainage easement. Again, staff recommends approval with a condition that the remaining easements area are removed. So that way they're assuming that responsibility. And then 42, resolution, this is a supplemental appropriation. This again goes with the raise, so this is a budget amendment to support what you would pass in the earlier item. All right.
I had one question.
Mr. Justice.
Thank you. Back on item 34, on our appointments to the TDC, and I just didn't remember, when we have 2 columns, I just didn't remember, was Mr. Williams under a tourist designation and not a lodging designation?
I don't know the answer to that.
I can get with the attorney and find out before Tuesday, but I don't personally
I mean,
know.
I'm assuming because that's how it's here.
Yeah.
I was,
Is he? He's
it's
in-
Innisbrook.
Okay, that's, okay.
And so it's both. So I just, because
Right.
because, I mean, we have Mr. Williams who's served and Ms. Rodriguez who served, and then Mr. Hubbard is an applicant and has an incredible experience. So we've got 3 good applicants there, and I just didn't know how it broke out there. And I learned, I met with Mr. Hubbard recently, that I think his father and grandfather have both served on the TDC in the history of Pinellas, so a real neat family history there as well.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. All right, unless there's any other questions on the agenda, why don't we take a recess and come back at 11:45?
Thank you all.
right.
So your aides,
Was it? All right, we're adjourned.